release. Coming up next on the Wincinnati Podcast.
It's an exciting time to be a Bengals fan.
I'm Ace.
We got a special show as always.
The voice of the Bengals. Dan Ford, Willie Anderson, Corey Dillon.
The name of this thing is called Wincinnati, and I'm not going to stop.
Talk to us about that roller coaster season.
I'm still going to give you the same AJ.
I'm going to work as hard as I can to be the best.
Always working ever since I met y'all, boy.
I got to get your top 5 receiver. Better, man.
Real. Watch out for us.
Welcome to the Wincinnati Podcast. He is Zim. I am Ace. We here to break down this 2024 schedule. You guys know it got released after all of the crazy leaks. A lot of them wasn't right. I'm gonna keep it a buck. A lot of the leaks, the bye week, week 5, all of that stuff wasn't real. But we got the actual real schedule here. Zimmy, how you doing? I know you just coming from a playback. We actually are dually streaming right now on YouTube. To the Wincinnati Twitter, as well as you still doing a playback as well right now. Talk to people about playback. What's going on with it?
We on playback right now. I got my boy Brady, I got Max and all the guys in there right now. So if you've ever heard our show here on Wincinnati on YouTube and you thought to yourself, like, I would like to get on and talk with a microphone and be able to do so, go to playback.tv. It's a room called Ringless Bandits. You could talk ball, talk anything you want, speak your mind, as well as always, make sure you subscribe to Wincinnati Pod on Twitter, Wincinnati Pod. Make sure y'all follow us for updates, contests, and stuff like that, because there is an active comment section that's going on right now if you're listening to this on the pod too. So you do have a chance to get your stuff off in here too. Somebody's already wrote in here in the comments, the Bengals are going 15-2. I'm not here to steer you wrong, my brother, but I think I got a difference of opinion. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good, bro. And I think, like you said, I feel like with either of our platforms, whether it was you with the Players Lounge on Instagram or me on YouTube, we always have given voices, I think, to WhoDey Nation. Like we've always brought them on to talk with us and stuff like that, whether it was spaces or whatever. So I think it's dope that we can do that and continue to do that. But I'm having a great time. We was just talking about my son's youth flag football league and how I hate his coach, but everything outside of that is good. He will definitely be playing for the Bengals next season, and I will definitely be coaching the team. But let's get into the 2024 season. So it kicks off. Let's look at these first 4 games, bro. We're talking about the Patriots at home, so that's going to be Jacoby Brissett likely in that game. It's going to be Gerard Mayo's debut in the league. Then you got KC. We going back to Burrow week 2. We getting the smoke with Patty Mahomes. Like, it's late in the season. It's not early this time. Then you got the Commanders up on Monday Night Football. They got Jaden Daniels. You're talking about 2 LSU Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks taking on each other on Monday Night Football. And then you got the Panthers week 4. What are your thoughts, partner, on these 4 games? Because I kind of like this opening.
I like it too. I think for the first time, I thought last year it kind of backfired. I was like, well, we can get into the division stuff earlier. I just think that we never really recovered from it. I think ultimately it went hand in hand with the Burrow injury. So I'm not the biggest fan of first thing out the gate, let's go play people that want to kill us. So let's go play the Patriots. The Bengals open up as the biggest favorites for week 1. Currently, if you're any bettors or whatever in the world currently right now, I think that this line changes to maybe 7.5 by the time we get to start of week 1. But currently right now it's at 9.5. I'm the biggest Bengal fan of all time, but even I can't see the Bengals covering 9.5. So I took the under on that, even though I think we win. I got us starting off 1-0 at that part. I think that the Bengals are going to only probably see 1, maybe almost 2 teams this whole entire season where the roster is just as good or better than them, and the Chiefs would be one of them. And I think that they're probably we're at an even spot depending on how you want to look at Chiefs roster versus ours. I'm going to say that the Bengals take the L on this one, and that feels weird for me to say that because I think we're fully capable of doing it. And if we were to win this game, I think the L would be coming up maybe the Ravens or whatever, but then we take care of business with the Commanders. I think Jaden Daniels going up against Lou Anarumo. You got Bryce Young going against Lou Anarumo. Bengals start off 3-1.
Yeah, I think 3-1 is very plausible, and I don't think it's being cocky or anything like that. I would think that the Bengals will be favored in 3 of those games out of the 4, like you just said. And I feel like it's situations where the quarterback is honestly weak. Like outside of Kansas City, when you're looking at this, Jacoby Brissett, Jaden Daniels is unproven. With the Panthers, you had that quarterback over there who struggled last season, so to me, it's very questionable at the quarterback position. And you know how we do. We always look at, if you go back to when we were the Orange is the New Black podcast, one of our staples was always, what does the quarterback matchup looks like? Because 9 times out of 10, that's going to determine who the actual winner of the game is. So Bryce Young, I just am not sold on him right now as a quarterback. I'm not saying the kid can't be good, but he didn't show much last season. And as it stands right now, those teams are like that. Now, if the Bengals can beat the Chiefs, I think you could be seeing them possibly be at 4-0. So I think at worst, which I don't see this. I feel like at worst you have to be 2-2, and I don't see that happening.
I don't. Not this year. Not this year, bro.
Not this season. This is the season where I don't think you have the slow start from the Bengals. So week 5. We back with the ops at 1 p.m. on October 6th with the Baltimore Ravens.
Can I ask you a question about that Patriots game real quick?
What's up?
Would you rather play Drake May or Jacoby Brissett?
I would actually probably rather play Drake May just because he's never seen an NFL defense or anything like that. Like Jacoby Brissett is a veteran. He's played for several teams. He's seen a lot of different schemes. So I honestly would rather play Drake May because Drake May just has never seen an NFL defense before. So if it were up to me, I would probably rather play Drake May. Who would you rather play?
Give me May. I think Jacoby Brisket. I said somebody in the comments said Brisket. I forgot we used to call this guy Brisket, but I think Brisket poses, like you know how it is. Just like when we played Mason Rudolph, like you got like a guy that is confident enough to make a good decision. So I think May might try to do too much. I just think Lou Anaroon. I see my boy Caleb in the crowd. Like nothing against the commies, bro. I just think that our defensive coordinator against young quarterbacks outside of Mike White has a really good track record. So I do
think that the game will be like exciting though. Like it kind of gives me shades of the Thursday night football game when we played the Jags when Trevor Lawrence was like a rookie. You kind of remember that where it was like you didn't know what to really expect. And I think Jaden Daniels adds like the scrambling dimension. So I think
you got all the LSU fans and all that. Whew.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. So you got Baltimore. That's going to be the first division rival matchup, 1 p.m. At home. And then you have the Sunday night football game against the New York Giants. So shout out to Tina, the Meow Gang, Litterbox. Will be taking on the Giants on Sunday night football. Then you go and play the Brownies week 7 in Cleveland, 1 p.m. And then you finish that week 8 with the Eagles. So I feel like in this situation, there's 3 pretty good teams. Like, we don't know. Like, I will say I respect the Giants coaching staff. I don't respect Daniel Jones, though. So, like, for me, that seems like a game that looks like a possible W to me or is a W, a likely W. With the Ravens, I really am looking forward to that game, man. It's been a lot of smoke. Ravens fans have been chirping a lot, and it's going to be at home, if I'm not mistaken. So, I think with that being at home, I think that advantage goes to the Bengals for the first game. And then you take on Cleveland in Cleveland. I don't know what they're going to look like. The last time the Bengals played Cleveland, we beat them. They didn't play many of their starters, but Deshaun Watson really struggled last season. And we still don't know, like, what is Deshaun Watson? Like, I feel like Cleveland fans have been saying this is the year he's going to bounce back. Well, you've been saying that for, like, the past 2 seasons now. Is he going to be that guy or not? I don't know. So, like, that to me is going to be the determining factor. And I don't think Burrow is going into that game looking like he did week 1 in a snowstorm or whatever it was last season. Like, I don't see that being the case with Burrow. Like, I feel like by that point, Burrow's going to be fine. And don't forget, Deshaun Watson, everybody's talking about Burrow. Deshaun Watson's recovering from a throwing shoulder injury. So, like, that's something to keep in mind as well. Then the Eagles – that's the one where I feel like that's probably going to be the hardest game throughout that stretch outside of Baltimore. What about you?
The Eagles one for me, I think that outside of you're 100% right. Yes, the hardest one out of it. I just think I like us against unfamiliar opponents. I think Lou Anarumo has a real good track record against quarterbacks that aren't as accurate. And the teams that did cook us was Tom Brady in the 2022 season, where he threw for 300 yards and no other quarterback did. The only other quarterback that had a really good game, I thought, in that same season was the Cooper Rush game because he was accurate in that game. I just don't think that Jalen Hurts. I think from a matchup perspective, AJ Brown versus Cam Taylor-Britt is like must-see TV. And then you got Devonta Smith versus DJ Turner with a body style that I think works. The one thing, the overall thing for the whole season for me that I'm not sure on, and I don't know if they'll put Dax Hill on them, but I think Tyson Anderson is who I would like to see on tight ends. But the tight end part, I don't know if this team is any better or any worse against tight ends, where they absolutely were destroyed by tight ends last year. So that Goddard matchup for that one, and then we were just talking about the Ravens one, you got Likely and Andrews. So like those are the ones that stand out to me. The Ravens one is interesting to me because I hear a lot of Bengals fans say, we got to be tough enough to go and play in the North. Like we just won the AFC North back-to-back years with a healthy Joe Burrow. Or they're telling me Joe Burrow's always hurt. So he was hurt and he won back-to-back years. So there is validity to the AFC North wants to kill us. They fight it, they play hard, but you can't take away the fact that we won back-to-back years. And coming into the season, Burrow had won 4 out of 5, or one of those games was Finley. But Bengals had won 4 out of 5 against Pittsburgh coming into the 23 season. They didn't have to play Burrow in the 23 season. The Ravens matchup is very interesting to me, though, because Burrow is 4-4 versus the Ravens. His 4 losses, the first one was the rookie season on a bad team. The second one was the Thursday night one where both quarterbacks played bad. Burrow throws a bad pick. He does come back, takes the lead with a minute and some change left. The third one is the one that he just had week 2 just now, where the defense was killed. I hated that game. You know, that's the game me and you went back and forth where I just could not stand the defense in that game. Yeah. Burrow finally figures it out in the second half of that game, and he looks really good towards the end of that game outside of the Geno Stone pick. You then go into the fourth L. That's the one where he actually starts off. Bengals should have been 14-7. Jonah Williams gets a holding penalty. We had to settle for a field goal. We missed the field goal. We only go up 10-7. Joe Burrow gets hurt throwing a pass, and that's one of the losses. So I just recapped the 4 losses. It's not some substantial amount of like whatever that people try to make it out to be. I know online people say Ravens are 8-1 versus like that don't got nothing to do with Joe Burrow. I don't care about none of that. Right. If Joe Burrow's out there healthy, this might be a crazy take, but I think that they have ability to sweep them this year. And I think this would be the year to do it with the Ravens having a brand new secondary coach, a brand new defensive line, and a brand new defensive coordinator, a full overhaul. And you lost all of those players. I like playing them early, and I think that that's a dub. The one loss that I would say, I don't think we lose any of the games in that stretch. I'm still at 1 loss because of that Chiefs one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think another one is you talk about overhaul. The Browns are overhauling that offense, so they're going to have a new offensive system. So by week 7, I think that they should be comfortable. But if they're not comfortable, that's still something that the Bengals could possibly take advantage of there. Week 9, you got the Las Vegas Raiders. You got Baltimore again on Thursday Night Football. Pretty close to that date where they was cheering F Joe Burrow. It's in Baltimore too. I think that that's one to keep an eye on for sure on what Joe is going to do in that game. Then you follow that up with the rematch against Justin Herbert for the first time in a few years now, a few seasons. So I'm anxious to see that one. Obviously, you got Jim Harbaugh there. It could be a completely different team because they got Greg Roman as their OC. So I like Justin Herbert's going to be handing the ball off a lot this season, I think, especially with that receiving core and just Greg Roman's history from what he did in Baltimore. He had wide receivers that didn't want to play in his system whatsoever. So I think that's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. But I look at that as the Bengals having 2 winnable games, especially you talk about Aiden O'Connell possibly being the starter for the Raiders. And then you talk about a Chargers team that is kind of shifting its identity, still trying to move towards this kind of Jim Harbaugh kind of system. The only possible L I see there is the Ravens one. And then you get the bye week 12, which I feel like falls perfectly because it's right at towards the end of the season when you're gearing up, getting healthy, and getting ready for an end of the season push. So I love that the bye week is week 12. What are your thoughts just on like the bye week, the second matchup with the Ravens? Because you said that you feel like we're gonna sweep them possibly, and then you got the Raiders and the Chargers there. It's a lot of Chargers coming out of the woodwork talking about 0-2 against the Chargers is what Joe Burrow's record is.
That is disgusting. If you're a Charger fan, if you're a Wall Charger fan, and you out here talking and hanging your hat on an 0-2 record, first of all, you're probably hanging on that because you haven't won a playoff game and you couldn't come back when you were. When you blew a 21-point lead. So I get it. You're going to hang on to that. So relax. I don't even want to recap those two games. That's so stupid. Like Joe Burrow was robbed of a moment with AJ Green coming out of a COVID year. And then the second time, Burrow comes roaring back. It's 22-22 and Mixon fumbles. Like, get out of here. All right. I do say this, though. Like I was saying the point earlier about the accurate quarterbacks, I do consider Herbert to be one of those accurate quarterbacks. And one thing I know that the Bengals don't want to do, and I'll be the first one to admit this, they don't want to get into a slug match with teams in the trenches because that's not their strong suit. Will they go in the playoff format? I think that they knuckled up with a lot of different foes, and they had to do what they had to do. But generally in a regular season, Bengals want to get out to a lead so that they can put you in a situation where we know you're passing. I think that the Chargers pose two different threats, and I think this is a sneaky L. Like, I think that the Bengals, the Homer Bengal fan in me thinks that I'll win, but this is the one that I would give as a loss because of the stretch.
Hold on. Is this Zim doing a schedule prediction? Hold on. I know this ain't what I think it is.
A little bit. I'm just going through scenarios. So it's not much of a prediction. I'm just going through scenarios. This is a team that could potentially pose a threat. So I don't do the prediction.
I just had to ask, bro, because I've been with you for a long time, and I remember you was like, "Nah, I'm not giving no predictions." None of that. Okay.
At the end of this, I'm gonna let you carry the prediction. I'm just going through how I think that this team could probably beat us. I think that
that's cool.
I do think that we could sweep the Ravens. I do think that also the Ravens, could easily split. But I'm just saying the scenario. The Chargers, though, they're going to run the football. If that game is close, I don't like a game where I'm playing a running team with a quarterback that has the ability to throw into tight windows. So currently right now, I've got us, potentially at 2 L's at this point.
Don't you feel like we give Herbert way more respect than the Bolts fans give Burrow?
Of 1,000%, but Tua's fans are the same way because they're all jealous that they didn't get Burrow. So that's just like a Chiefs fan telling you that Orlando Brown is trash. Like, he doesn't have to be the greatest tackle of all time. They're just jealous that they weren't able to re-sign him, and then the guys that they signed afterwards weren't as good as him. So then they're constantly coming back and saying, well, he's terrible. I'm like, bro, I didn't say that he was the greatest tackle of all time, but you're going out of your way to tell us that.
And now you have Wanye Morris at left tackle, right?
Like, come on, bro. Like, let's be real. We're talking about a 27-year-old multiple Pro Bowls, Super Bowl champion. Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's crazy.
For sure. So then the last part of the schedule here, we got the Steelers, who we aren't playing until December. So December 1st, week 13, Steelers, week 14, Cowboys at Dallas on Monday Night Football, another primetime game. Week 15, we get to see Coach Callahan with the new look Titans. That's going to be in Tennessee. And then on Thursday Night Football, we return home to play the Cleveland Browns on Thursday Night Football. This is a stretch where I feel like we're going to be good because, like, we just kind of talked about it yesterday. The Steelers schedule from week 11 to week 18 is
nasty.
Brutal. They could be beat up. They could be whatever. Like, I think
whether the start of it, though, right? That's the first. That it starts on week 11, right?
Week 11 is where the hard games start. So the Bengals playing in week 13. They are going to be coming off of playing. I want to say, I don't know if they're the ones, but I think they have 4 AFC North games in a row at the end of their schedule, and this is one of them. So I think the Steelers are a team. Now, if you're saying any team in the division that the Bengals could sweep, get them brooms out because I think Pittsburgh is getting swept this season, especially if Russell Wilson is spiraling by this point or Justin Fields is out there. I think that they're a good team, but that week 11 and on is, I think, when they start to spiral and fall a little bit. The Cowboys, I think they'll be a solid team for us to play. I think they're one of the best teams out of this, and I will probably say the Browns. The Titans, I'm kind of intrigued to see how that game goes. We lost to them last season. They got a whole bunch of roster turnover. It is a person in Callahan that knows a lot about us. So how is he going to play against a guy like Lou? We're going to finally get to see Callie versus Lou in this game, so that'll be interesting. What about you, bro? What are your thoughts on week 13 through 16?
That's a very interesting spot. I think the Bengals gonna win this division, bro. I really do. I think part of it is that right there with, this stretch is a very important one. I think the unfamiliar opponent of the Cowboys, like, that's going to be a tough game. Micah Parsons, like, that's going to be tough. That's a tough game. I do think that the Titans, from a betting perspective, and Vegas is currently right now saying they don't believe in them at all. Like, I was very shocked with the free agency that they've had. I think that the familiarity of Callahan and all this stuff like that, I think it helps us well. And I was just talking to my boy Forrest. I just feel like Bengals play their best ball in December with Joe Burrow. Like, and that's the stretch where we're coming into the stretch with 2-3 L's or something, but I just think we make that run. I think we get hot around that time. That's the sweet spot. That's not where I take a L at any of those spots right there. And I really feel like maybe we split with the Browns, but I really feel like I like my matchups with the Ravens and Steelers this year. I really do.
Broncos and Steelers, how you feel about us wrapping up those two at the end of the season?
Broncos, I'm wiping them. That's it. And then Steelers, they without Joe Burrow last year, they didn't get a chance. They didn't have to play Joe Burrow. They got to play Joe Burrow this year. Last time Joe Burrow saw him, he told them we was the big dogs, and that's all there is to it. Like, I'm not worried about them. Like, if anything, it might be if we're resting starters or something like that. But I think that game is going to have meaning. I think the Broncos game is a setup game for that, and I think that game has meaning. And I think the floor. Oh, go ahead.
No. Go ahead, bro. You got it.
I was going to say the floor for this whole thing, like, to me, as I go through all of that, I just think we come out of this worst case scenario, Bengals win 11 games. I think one of the better case scenarios is they win 13-14.
Yeah, I think the advantage of getting to play the fourth place teams is that you get to play teams that have been in the fourth place. And I think that this was a Bengals team that really was able to do a lot and get 9 wins with one of the hardest schedules in football last year based off of winning percentage. So I think, the way that this thing ends with the Broncos and Steelers, I think compared to the rest of the division, it's a lot easier and more winnable games than the rest of the division, where that could be a crucial game that either decides the division or guarantees a playoff spot. So that is going to wrap up our schedule preview. We actually want to toss it here now to our friends that will help you guys with your traveling. With the season now being scoped out, you might want to holler at our boys over at Fans of Cincy, fansofcincy.com. You can go there, reserve your spot for any of these trips: Nashville, Dallas, Charlotte, Los Angeles, Kansas City. For a $200 deposit, it's going to include airfare tickets, hotel stay, game tickets, bus transportation, fan connections, and an all-inclusive tailgate. You'll be able to get drinks and food and all of that, and enjoy making connections with other Bengals fans. Once again, that is fansofcincy.com. Make sure you check them out today. Make sure you get all of that taken care of so you no longer have to even worry about it. So go and holler at our friends at fansofcincy.com. And of course, it's NFL season, but it's also summertime, right? Make sure that you kick back and get some of that good food with our friends at Midwest Best Barbecue.
Wings and them CTVs. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. It's the Ace to the Zim, M to the D's. Uno wings, Jeep on wings, and them CTVs. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. Midwest Best is the place to be procuring wings. Say what up with Jordan Battle. We be going to battle. Intercepting balls like CTB did on Seattle. Putting 6 up on AZ. Juice gang amazing. Make sure you come get these wings. The Zim stay blazing. And T-Game be smooth as ice. Jamal making DBs fold. TB got big levels. And now you already know. Hits are pretty for Uno wings. Cam got the new wings. We call them CTBs. Only at MBs. Nation to the Zim. M into the B's.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Midwest Best Barbecue 669 Justice Court in Loveland, Ohio. And make sure that you're also subscribed and liking this video on the Wincinnati Podcast. And make sure that you give us a listen and a review wherever you get your podcast and are listening to this, whether that's on Apple, Stitcher, wherever. We appreciate that. That helps other Bengals fans find the podcast, the YouTube channel, and all of that. And also make sure you tune in to Jake and Mon. They're going live tonight to break down the Bengals schedule, so you guys will be able to hear their thoughts. But also follow Zim on Twitter at Zim WhoDey. Follow me at New Stripe City. Follow the Wincinnati Podcast at Wincinnati Pod. And before we get out of here, Zim, do you have any final thoughts on the Bengals schedule, or just something that you want to say to the WhoDey Nation going forward?
I feel really good about this schedule. I don't have any quarrels with it. I think the travel time on it is something that stands out to me a lot. The travel time is the second lowest in the NFL. I was talking to a player yesterday. It was like, man, that's a blessing because of that. I think the bye week being in week 12 is also a blessing that helps us out a lot too. The 3 games in between the 11-day stretch or whatever, it is what it is. Like, there are other teams that had to go through it. Everything can't be perfect. In terms of strength of schedule from opponents played from last year, the Bengals are like ranked 16th in that overall point. So it is what it is. Like, we knew who we were playing. I feel like we were able to lay it out. Hopefully, I'm going to try to talk to you to try to get you to the home opener. Me, Jake, Mon, and all them boys, we was talking about that earlier. Hopefully, we could do something special for our fans that watch the show and just fans of the Cincinnati Bengals, where we could do something opening day is one of the things I hope we could do. But it lets me map out a lot of different stuff. I've never been to Jerry World, so hopefully I can make it there. I'm really excited about the schedule. I think that it gives us the opportunity to say, I can't walk away from it like I did last year and say, bro, the schedule, this is the hardest schedule in the NFL and da-da-da. Like, it is what it is. I think that it's a very fair schedule, about as fair as you're going to get in the NFL. And it got to be like, we just got to take advantage of the opportunity. You're not going to get that many chances where the Bengals are drafting with the number 18 pick. You're not going to get that many opportunities to play the last place schedule. Like, you're not, in the Joe Burrow era. So here we are.
Yes, here we are. So Bengals fans, get ready for an exciting season and stay tapped in with us. We're going to bring you all of the content like we always do over here at Wincinnati. And make sure you tapped in with us and listening to the Wincinnati Podcast.
It's an exciting time to be a Bengals fan.
I'm Ace. We
got a special show as always.
The voice of the Bengals. Dan Ford, Willie Anderson, Corey Dillon.
The name of this thing is called Wincinnati, and I'm not going to stop.
Talk to us about that roller coaster season.
I'm still going to give you the same AJ. I'm going to work as hard as I can to be the best.
Always working ever since I met y'all, boy.
I got to get your top 5 receiver.
Better, man. Good. Watch out for us.